Properties of math, the foundations. What are they? Properties are characteristics that apply to any given set. Why? Helps to understand the foundation of mathematics. Interesting fact: one species of jellyfish, Turritopsis thorni, is immortal. In response to physical damage or any other trauma, they can revert back in their development process to a polyp. Now, let's take a look at the table of properties of addition and multiplication. Remember, subtraction and division are included in here as well. Let's talk about the first property. What is closure? Well, closure states that if we add or multiply any two numbers, that the result is also a real number. Let's move on to commutative. Let's shorten the word to commute. What does that bring to your mind? Well, we commute from home to work or school every day. Then we return home. The distance traveled from home to work or school is the same as from work or school to home. The order does not matter. Let's move on to associative. Let's shorten the word to associate. What does that bring to your mind? Well, we have a certain amount of people all in the same room. It doesn't matter how we group them together. They will always be together. Let's move on to identity. What does that bring to your mind? Well, you are you. To keep you, you, we can add 0 or multiply by 1. So you are you. Let's move on to inverse. Here, we bring back the identities. So when we add a number and its inverse, the result is the additive identity, which is 0. And when we multiply a number and its inverse, the result is the multiplicative identity, which is 1. Last, let's talk about the property that involves addition and multiplication. Distributive. It doesn't matter if the real number is on the left or the right of the parentheses. The result will be the same when we distribute. Now that we've seen all the properties, let's put them in action by taking a look at the examples we're going to discuss in today's video. Let's take a closer look at example 1. Let's read the steps. Step 1. Is it addition or multiplication? Step 2. Is it associative or commutative? Step 3. Is it distributive? Now, let's read the question. Identify the property that the statement illustrates. Let's read them. The first one, the quantity of 5 times 2 times 3 is equal to 5 times the quantity of 2 times 3. The second one, 5 times 2 is equal to 2 times 5. The third one, the quantity of 7 plus 4 plus 1 is equal to 7 plus the quantity of 4 plus 1. The fourth one, 7 plus 4 is equal to 4 plus 7. And the last one, 9 times the quantity of 3 plus 6 is equal to 9 times 3 plus 9 times 6. Well, we know the first two have to do with multiplication, and the next two have to do with addition. Let's decipher which ones are associative and which ones are commutative. Remember, associative is, it doesn't matter how we group them together, we will always be together. And commutative is, the order doesn't matter. Which statements do we think are associative? Which statements do we think are commutative? That's right. The first and third statements are associative because we are grouping them differently, but we are still in the same room. The second and fourth statements are commutative because we rearrange the terms because order does not matter. Now, this brings us to the last statement. Which property do we think this statement illustrates? That's right, distributive, because we have addition and multiplication. That is example 1. Let's move on to example 2. Whoa, the steps have changed. Let's read them. Step 1, can we rearrange the terms? Step 2, can we rearrange the parentheses? Step 3, can we factor out a common term? Now, let's read the question. Use the properties to show the statement 4a plus the quantity of 5 plus 2a is equal to 6a plus 5 is true. First, let's write down the statement to show our work. What do we think is the next step? That's right. We want to rearrange the terms inside the parentheses, so 4a and 2a are closer together. Which property do we think illustrates that? That's right, the commutative property of addition. What do we think is the next step? That's right, we need to move the parentheses around since we are all in the same room. Which property do we think illustrates that? That's right, the associative property of addition. What do we think is the next step? That's right, we need to factor out an a since both terms have that in common. Which property do we think illustrates that? That's right, the distributive property. Now, we can find the sum of 4 and 2, which is 6. So we have 6a plus 5 is equal to 6a plus 5. That is example 2. Now, it is your turn. So go ahead and pause the video here so you can take your time to answer this question, and I will show you the result in 3, 2, and 1. Did you get it correct? Awesome. If not, there's always tomorrow.